welcome to my metallic leaf application workshop. In this workshop I'm going to be showing you beautiful designs that are created with the metallic leaf application. They can be slippery little suckers, so I'm going to show you all the tips, tricks and techniques of how to master it and make it look beautiful. So let's get started. Hi everyone and welcome to the metallic foil application workshop. So in this workshop I'm going to be showing you how to create basic designs with metallic foils. So if I just show you this one here, this is a basic application just on gel polish with a shiny top coat, and then we have got a cuticle fade, again using the same foil but this time we have used a matte top coat. Okay, and then I've also created a marble effect. So this is using again gel polish but with the silver foil just to help to highlight and accent that. Okay, and I've also included in this workshop a acrylic reverse French with clear, with the foil encapsulated within that acrylic, so it's really smooth and it helps to create, if I just show you on the back of my hand here, it helps to create depth in that acrylic because your foil is encapsulated inside. Okay, so the first one I'm going to show you is the basic application and how to get the application correct for your foil. So I have used a dark tip, so I've used a black gel polish, and I haven't actually prepared my tips because I wanted to show you from the beginning. So I've got a clear tip here. Okay, I'm just going to zoom out slightly so you guys can see, and I'm going to use a black gel polish. So this is the Onyx from the Nalchemy range. Now if we were doing this on a client, obviously we will have done a base coat and then, or we would have done our prep and then a base coat and then a coat of our gel polish. So this is our first coat, and I'm just going to pop that in the lamp for a 30-second cure. And while I'm here I'm also going to prepare the cuticle fade nail, which again is done on a black background. So I'm just making sure my application is nice and thin because I know people have a lot of trouble with especially black colours or dark highly pigmented colours, in that they don't tend to cure correctly underneath the lamp. So you need to make sure that your application is really nice and thin and consistent so you don't get that cure that is uneven. So I'm just waiting for that to cure, and while that's curing I'm just going to show you the metallic leaf foils that I'm going to be using. So again, these are from the Nalchemy range, and these are slightly different to any foils that I've seen before, in that they almost have like a petrol effect on them. So hopefully you guys can see that and it's not too shiny. There you go. So we've got a petrol effect on there. They do like your plain copper, so that hasn't got the petrol effect, and also the gold. Okay, and there's a beautiful red in there as well, so this would be lovely for Christmas. And this is a nice alternative to glitters as well. A lot of people tend to go straight for the glitter, but foil can have a really nice effect on the nails as well without having that sparkle, but it's got that shine and opulence to it. So this has had its first cure, so I'm just going to pop on my second coat. Now I get a lot of questions of where the tips are from that I use. I have actually sourced these myself, so these are available on my website, so over at www lauramcbridenailartist.com for these tips, and they've got a really nice curve to them. They're not flat like some tips can be, so you get a really good feel for if you were doing it on a real client when you're practicing, because you've got that apex in there, and they're really nice and smooth as well, so it's great for our product application. So I'm just popping my second coat on the second nail, and that's also going to go in for a full cure. So while that's curing, I'm going to prepare the foil that I'm using. So I'm going to use a slightly different one to the one that I used in the original. So you can see this is slightly greener, just to show you the difference in the foils, but it's exactly the same technique that I used for this one. So when you get your foils, they are quite packed in, okay, or your leaf I should say. They are quite packed in that they're squished down. So you do get a lot more than looks in the, you can see it's all squashed in, okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pull out a tiny little bit that we're going to use, and you can see how much more foil you actually get than what it looks in the pot. I'm just going to pop that to one side. Now what I use to be able to prepare my foil is a pair of X tweezers. Okay, so these are actually reverse tweezers, and you can see they're a little bit bent and buckled, so these are old tweezers. And unlike normal tweezers, when you squeeze them, they open rather than close. Okay, so they're reverse, and I've just got used to using these rather than normal tweezers. So what I do is I also get a dotting tool, okay, and I just start separating and unfolding that foil, because like I say, in the pot it can be quite folded. All right, so I've just unfolded the parts of the foil that need unfolding, and then I'm going to hold it down with my dotting tool, and I'm literally just going to start pulling that away to create smaller parts of the foil. And you can see how much it creates by just using that tiny little bit that we took out of the pot. Now you don't want to over pull it, because you don't want the areas, the pieces to be too small. Obviously if you do want the pieces to be smaller, then keep going and just holding them down. I'm just going to get rid of that one because we don't need that, we've got plenty. Okay, so I've just separated that up just to create smaller pieces. So you can see we've still got our slightly larger pieces. I'm just going to get that off of there. We've still got slightly larger pieces like this one, but we've also got smaller flecks here, which is what we want. So my nail has come out of the lamp, and it has got that tacky layer to it. Okay, so that is what we want. Do not wipe away that tacky layer, because we want to use that to be able to adhere our foil to the nail. Now what I use to adhere my foil to the nail is my Crystal Nails Phantom brush. Okay, so this is slightly pointy, but it's got a little bit of weight to it. All right, so if we just focus in on that, you can see we've got a little bit of weight to that brush, but it's nice and firm as well. So all I'm literally going to do, I'm going to start off with my larger piece, is just pick up the foil. There's nothing on my brush, this is a clean brush, and just pop it down where I want it. Now I'm not overworking it, I'm literally just placing the pieces where I want them to go. So I want this to come across diagonally up the nail, but I also want there to be slight gaps in between the foil. So I'm just getting my smaller pieces and filling in the areas and creating that shape up the nail. Now as you can see there, they are super flyaway, so you don't want to be doing this in a draft of any sort, because they will just fly away, never to be seen again. Okay, so now I'm going to go in and just literally pick up those tiny little flecks, because I don't want a large piece in there. Get rid of that. Okay, so I have created my design, but now what I want to do is make it flat, because if I turn that, you can see it's all still stood up slightly. Okay, so I've got my placement correct, and now what I'm going to do, I'm going to just push down. I'm not brushing, I'm pushing down, starting from the bottom, working my way up, and just pushing that foil down into that inhibition layer. Okay, making sure that any areas that are stood up are now nice and flat. So if I turn that to the side now, you guys can see it's nice and flat. Now we have got some little tiny areas there that need pushing down. So now I'm going to use a brushing motion, but I'm not going to brush out this way because I want to keep this area and this area of the nail dark. So I'm brushing over the foil area, okay, or the leaf area I should say. So again, pushing that down, making sure it's nice and flat, and I'm going to make this one shiny. So I'm going to go in with my no wipe top coat, and I'm going to give this a layer of top coat. So this design is so easy, it's so quick and simple, but so effective, because we have only got those 2 layers of gel polish and then our layer of top coat. So we're not creating a really thick, you can see how thin that is, we're not creating a really thick layer of gel polish on our client's nails. Okay, so I'm just going to pop that in for a full cure, which is 60 seconds. And while that one's curing, I'm going to show you the cuticle cuff on this now. So again, I haven't wiped off the inhibition layer. I have kept it on there because that's what we're sticking our foils into. Now, or our leaf. I want this area here to be really quite dense and solid with our leaf. So I'm doing that first. I'm popping it in and almost overlapping the foils so that there's no gap in that cuticle cuff. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to come across this middle section here and just fill that in. And I'm also going to get some tinier little pieces and just start to create that fade. So I'm just popping some pieces up and around, but be careful not to push it down too much, because it's these little flecks that are going to come away that are going to help us to create our fade. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, instead of pushing down like we did on the last nail to make it flat, I'm actually going to brush it up, because what we're doing is we're not only flattening it, but we're moving those pieces of foil that were stood up the nail. So I'm just gonna, and that will enable us to see where we need to add more foils, more leaf. I'm so sorry, I keep calling it foil. More leaf to create that fade. And you can be really firm with it. You can see how firm I'm being. Okay, so just pulling that up. Just to create that foil to come up the nail and fade up. Okay, so in the process of doing that, we have made our foils really nice and flat. Just wait for that to focus. So they're really nice and flat on the nail, okay? There's no lumps or bumps. But we have created that density at the cuticle and then faded it up slightly. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to velvet matte this. Now the reason I'm doing this is to not only show you the difference, but also leaf looks really lovely in matte, and it kind of goes against what we would want to naturally do, because if we were using a glitter, we would want to do this shiny, because we want that glitter to sparkle throughout the design. But you'll see in a moment, when this comes out, we've got the matte of the black, which pushes the black, the density of the black back slightly, okay, and it also makes the foil pop more, but you have still got a slight shine to that foil and that leaf because it is a shiny surface underneath. So this one has now fully cured. So if I just pop that there, and then you guys will be able to see. So this one has now fully cured, and we have got our leaf running through at a diagonal. We have still got that black coming through in the areas where we haven't covered because we didn't want it fully dense. But you can see the shine on that and how beautiful that looks and pops against that black background. But you can do any background, you could do any colour. The gold and the red looks really lovely. If you haven't got the petrol foils, it really doesn't matter. You can use just plain leaf. You've got copper leaf, you've got silver leaf, you've got gold leaf. You can use whatever you have, and the contrast just looks really lovely against that black. So that's the first nail done. And our matte nail has now fully cured. So I'm just going to show you this, and it will help for you guys to understand what I was trying to explain earlier. So we've got our black, which has been knocked back in density of colour by that matte, but our foil, our leaf is still slightly shiny, okay, but it's not as reflective. But it just really pops against that matte black. I just absolutely love this look. Because it just, if I show you this one, it actually looks like fire coming up the nail. But there's still that slight shine to that leaf. Just really pretty. So that is the matte with the leaf on the black. So now what I'm going to show you is a really, really simple, I'm just going to pop these foils away, is a really simple marble. So I have pre-done this one because I do show you this technique in other workshops. So I've literally just swirled a little bit of pink and a little bit of white and grey, okay, just to create like a marble effect. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a silver. So this is a plain foil. It's not got the petrol effect on it, it's just plain. So I'm just going to grab the tiniest little bit because I don't need a lot for this design at all. And again, I'm going to grab my dotting tool. I'm going to grab my dotting tool, hold that in place, and then just tear off little pieces of this leaf. Now I don't want any large pieces in this, I want it to be really quite delicate, so I'm going to keep going in, holding down those larger pieces and then tearing them off so that they're nice and small. and just keep going until you've got the right sizes that you want for the nail that you're doing. So again, I'm going to use my Phantom brush, which hasn't got anything on it at all. It's nice and clean. And I'm just going to pick up these smaller foil pieces and just place them in a formation that's determined by my marble. So the way I do that is I normally put it into the darker areas, but you can see how tiny those foils are, and I'm flattening them down as I go and then brushing them out. Okay, and I'm going to do some here, and because they're so small, because we've made them so small, you can do a few in one go. And then I'm going to pop a larger piece just here on the edge, just to finish that design off. So again, I'm going to go over flattening them all down and then brushing them out. Okay, and I'm going to make this one, well, I made the original one shiny, so I'm going to make this one velvet matte for you so you can see the difference between the two, and then we'll have a nice comparison. So I'm just going to go in with my matte top coat, okay, and that's going to go in the lamp for a full cure. Now while that one's curing, I'm just going to get rid of this. I'm going to show you how to encapsulate your leaf. Now I love this look, especially on a clear tip, and the reason for that is, if I just show you in the one that I've done previously, you can see that we've got our clear underneath, so it almost creates like that glass effect, but you've got that dimension in there from the foil because this is all encapsulated in clear acrylic. Okay, now you could do a full set with this. I've chosen to do a reverse French, but if you wanted to do the whole nail, you can. And you can also milk bath with it, and you can also add in some little dried flowers to add a little bit of dimension too. You know, the options are completely endless for you to be able to create different looks like this. So I'm going to show you how to create this. So I have pre-prepared my tip with my reverse French, and I have filed that in so I've got a nice crisp line. I am doing a workshop later on in the month that will show you how to do a reverse French and also colour blocking with acrylic. So please don't panic that I haven't shown you how to do this. That is coming. So like I've said, I've used a clear tip. So if we were sculpting, which I would normally do on a client, I would sculpt out a really thin tip on the form, okay, using my clear acrylic. And by doing that, we're making sure that the underside of the nail is nice and smooth, and also we're putting that strength and foundation into the nail first. I would then put on my reverse French, okay, so I'd put my pink in, and then I would go in with my foil. So the acrylic that I use to do my reverse French is the colour Blossom, which is a cover powder from the Genesis acrylic system from Nailchemy, and this is a core powder. So this is a strength powder, it's not a coloured acrylic, it is a strength powder, okay, so you don't need to cap it in clear. In the same way that I am using Crystal, which is the clear acrylic from the Genesis range from Nailchemy, and again this is a core powder, so this is going to add strength to the nail. So once we've done this design, we do not need to cap it again in clear. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to use my A8 Nailchemy acrylic brush, okay. I'm just going to grab a tissue to wipe off my solution. So this would be the situation of the nail on our client. So I'm just going to prepare my foil prior to doing this, and I'm going to use a different foil to the foil that I used in the nail that I showed you, just again so you guys can see the difference in the colours. So like I've done with the other designs, I'm going to take out a little bit of foil, okay, and you can see how far this goes in regard to how much you need. I'm just going to unfold it as best I can, because it is super fine. And then again, I'm going to hold it with my dotting tool, and I'm just going to start to pull that foil away, turning my dotting tool as I go, just to create those pieces that I want within the design. Okay, so I'm just going to pop that piece to one side because we don't need that. So again, like the first design that we did, I don't want the pieces too small, so I am leaving some larger pieces in there and just taking them down to the size that we want. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a really wet bead, almost like a polish, and I'm going to go in and just basically paint that in on that clear tip or on the base layer of the acrylic form that we did. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my foil and I'm literally just going to pick it up with my acrylic brush and pop it in. Now when it comes to the smile line, I'm going to make sure that I've got coverage in there because I don't want this area just to be left bare. So I'm making sure that I'm going up to that smile line and popping, even if it's just the tiniest little bit, in, because our foil is what's going to make that smile line appear to be a smile line rather than just an empty canvas, a blank space on the nail. So then from there, I'm just going to place larger pieces just randomly. We want this area to be quite full, but we want to see those gaps between the foils. So don't be tempted to cover the whole thing. It's really nice to be able to see that there's a clear acrylic there and it's not got full coverage. So I'm just getting my foil, patting it down into that clear acrylic base, and because we worked it so wet, we've got so much more time to be able to play with it. You don't have to rush to do this. Obviously there is that set time, but it's gonna be able to be played with for quite a while. So I'm just going in with my smaller parts, making sure I've got the coverage in that smile line area where I want it, and then looking at it from all angles and making sure there's no massive gaps, but you can see that this is clear. So again, just going in, making sure that we're covering all the bases. So if I pop that against my glove, you can see that we've got slight gaps in there, which is what we want, but we have got that coverage in our foil. I've just got a tiny little bit there that I'm just gonna pop in. There we go. Okay, so I'm just cleaning off my brush in my monomat and onto my tissue. I'm just going to move this foil out of the way. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to encapsulate this. So I'm going in with my crystal, which is the Nalchemy Clear, and I'm using quite a large bead, and I'm going to pop that up against my reverse smile line, and now I'm going to push it down into the corners of our smile line, and making sure that we go right to the edge. We don't want to miss out that tiny little point. And again, going down this way, making sure we're going right to the edge. Now I'm going to use gravity, and I'm going to start to pull that bead down using my patting motion to cover that leaf. Now again, I'm going to go in and pick up another bead, and I'm going to pop it just here. Okay, let it settle, let it do its thing. Then I'm going to pull that back up to create a seamless transition between those two beads, and then again use gravity as my friend. I'm working medium, I'm not working too wet, because I still want control over that bead. I don't want it to be running this way and that way, and we can't work too wet because we don't want to distort the placement of our leaf underneath this acrylic. So just using my patting motion and teasing that bead down right to the end of our tip. Now you can see there's not an even coverage there, so what I am going to do, I'm going to thicken it up slightly. I'm going to go in and make sure that I have covered those points on my smile line. Okay, and blend that out again, making sure I've covered, and then blend it out using a smoothing motion. And then I'm going to go in on top and just even out that top line of my enhancement. Now I appreciate this is quite a long nail, so I have not put in an apex, but if we were doing a client then obviously we would have done, but being on a tip there is no need to pop an apex in there. The also really important thing to make sure you do is to cap that tip, because we don't want to go to file and then remove that leaf. You need to make sure that that tip is fully capped with our acrylic bead. So again, I'm just going to refine that there slightly and just smooth that out. And that is our encapsulation done. So I'm going to set that to one side and let that set and get nice and hard, ready for filing. And while that's doing that, I'm just going to show you this marble technique in matte. So this is the shiny, which is what I did previously, okay, and this is the matte. So you can see I've used exactly the same colours and exactly the same leaf, but the look is completely different. So this has muted, the matte has muted back those colours, but you have still got that hint of shine from our leaf. Just adds that little bit of interest to the nail. So I'm going to pop those to one side, and I'm going to wait for this acrylic to harden up, and I will see you in a second, because by the powers that be technology, I'm going to skip forward and then we can file in this tip. Okay, so this nail has now fully hardened, and the way we check that is we tap it. So this is a nice clear tap and not dull in any way. So we can go down the sides right up to the tip, and it's nice and clear, which means that we are ready to go in and file. So I have done a video workshop on my filing routine, so make sure you head over and watch that. And I explain how I file and my routine. Now obviously it's slightly different because this is on a tip and I have to hold it in a different way to make sure it doesn't fall off. But I'm going to go down my side walls. Okay, and obviously this is far easier on a client because we can hold their finger. Okay, so I've gone down my side walls and just refined that shape, and now I'm going to go down my side, or free edge should I say, and then I'm going to go down my side walls this way, side walls this side, and then around my cuticle area. If you are left-handed, you would find it easier to go the other way, so start on this side, move over to this side, and then the cuticle area, or you can do your own filing routine. It's entirely up to you. So I'm just going to start here and get that nice transition from what would be the natural nail. I'm just going to get rid of that. What would be the natural nail up into the upper arch of our enhancement. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same here. And then I'm going to go around the cuticle line. Obviously, if we were doing this on a client, we would not be at this angle. It's just far easier to hold the tip at this angle when we're doing it on a tip. Okay, so that's that all filed in, and we can look down the barrel of the nail and we can see that we have tapered that in. If I just pop a dark, there you go, we can see that we've tapered that in. Alright, and now we just need to go over the top. Okay, so we've got taper on both sides. So I'm just gonna find that edge there. And also that edge there, which obviously we wouldn't have to do if we were doing it on a client. So now what I'm going to do, I'm gonna get my blend from my reverse French into my leaf encapsulation. So I'm just gonna scooch over this and blend it from side wall to side wall. And then I'm going to carry that on right to the end of our nail to get that nice rounded cylindrical shape to the nail. Looking down the barrel of the nail the whole time, making sure that we're not taking too much off of one area and we're making it nice and even right to the tip of that nail. Obviously, if it was a shorter nail, which you can absolutely do this design on a shorter French, so you could just do it down to here, it would still look as lovely. And the reason I've done a reverse French is because if you're doing a clear enhancement on the tip, it's nice to hide their natural nail and extend it out slightly. So that's why I've done a reverse French. So, you know, if their nail finished here, it's nice to extend that out slightly and get that really nice clean line to the transition between the nail bed and the length and the enhancement and the encapsulation. So I'm just coming to the end of the tip. I'm going to go under, making sure that that's nice and straight. And this is why it was super important for us to cap that point, because we want to be able to file over and get that nice curve to that top line of our nail. Can you see there? And if we didn't cap that over, we wouldn't have that nice curve right to the tip. It would be distorted. So now I've done that, I'm just going to go back in and refine that shape and make sure it's how I want it. And then I'm going to do the back end of our pink. So this is where our apex would be. And I'm just going to turn that round just for ease of filing, because we're working on a tip, but obviously we wouldn't need to do that if we were working on a client. And I'm just going to blend out into our cuticle area and our side walls. Okay, so I'm just going to look down the nail, make sure that I'm happy with that. I've just got a slight little raised area there that I just need to file back. Making sure we're looking down the barrel of the nail the whole time, and you might find it easier to close one eye when you look down the barrel of the nail. And also give it a background. So if you're doing this on a client, I would put my hand here on top of their hand. So for example, this was on a client's finger, I'd be looking down the barrel and I'd place my hand behind it so I can get a good look at the back end and the shape of that nail. So I've just got a slight ridge there I'm going to get rid of. Okay, so now I'm going to go in with my buffer and pull down that side and buff out those scratches, because we don't want any scratches to hinder our design. Not forgetting that tip, and to go over and just smooth out that shape. And then I'm going to go in with a buffer and do exactly the same, working down through my files to get rid of those scratches. Right to the tip, don't forget the tip, and just on that back end as well. Okay, so I'm going to give that a little dust off. So I'm just going to give that a dust. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to pop it back onto my stand. Okay, and if you've seen any of my videos before, you will know that I and my clients call this the Wapao moment, because even though that's semi-shiny, it really comes to life when we put our shiny top coat on. So I'm going to go in, and look how beautiful that is. It's just stunning. So again, I go into my cuticle and come down, making sure I've got no air bubbles in that top coat, any fluff, any unwanted visitors. We don't want that. And that is going to go into the lamp for a full cure. Okay, so this has now fully cured, and I will show you the finished result. So you can see that we have got our reverse French going down into our clear tip. We've got a really nice shape to that nail, and also we have encapsulated our leaf. So we have got dimension in there. I'm just gonna, there we go. You've got the dimension in there, you've got that depth, and you've also got the shine on that tip. Now, if you're not an acrylic tech, this can absolutely be done with a gel enhancement. Okay, so don't think you have to use acrylic to be able to create this look. And you can see the two different foils that I've used there. So we've got our more golden, red and orange tones, and then we've got our green and golden tones in this one. So that is our encapsulated leaf effect in our acrylic. Okay, and then we have got our gel polish on a shiny, and then we have got our gel polish on a matte, and we have also got our marble technique on a matte and a shiny. And that completes our metallic leaf application in gel polish, in acrylic. You can also do it in a gel enhancement, and also in both looks of matte and shiny. So that completes my metallic leaf application workshop. I really hope you guys have enjoyed it, and if you did, please make sure you click the like button, and if you want to see any future workshops, make sure you click the subscribe button and the notification bell. As always, thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you over in the next video.